Divorce happens. In fact, it happens to almost 50% of first marriages. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Divorce Happens, a podcast to educate, inspire, support, and yes, make you laugh through divorce and beyond so that you can start fresh on the next phase of your journey. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh.
You get divorced. You get divorced.
Getting divorced?
I'm getting a divorce.
You're getting a divorce.
Because she's getting a divorce.
So what if I get divorced?
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Divorce Happens, the podcast where we support you before, during, and after divorce with education, inspiration, and a little bit of laughter. Because as we know, divorce happens and then you start fresh. And we're here with not only a fresh starts expert, but a longtime friend and a divorced human and a single mom who's not so single right now, but who has been a single mom. And we're gonna talk about something I've kind of become a little bit obsessed with as I talk to our experts. I'm not gonna lie, which is like, what are all these options real estate wise for single moms, especially as they enter the divorce process? Because I think culturally and historically, we've always thought like a woman may not have as much money as she used to have, and she needs to go into that little tiny apartment, which is not a problem. Tiny apartments are wonderful, but I want women to know that they may have options. So, Emily, who are you? What do you do? First of all.
Yes, my name, as you said, is Emily Clancy. I'm a real estate salesperson, or a real estate agent, as some people say, with Serhant on Long Island in New York, which is it's only a small piece of the United States, but there's a ton of real estate here and a ton of buying and selling. So it's a great market to be in and live in. Beautiful place. And I specialize in working with folks who are separated, divorced, going through divorce, consulting, and then ultimately, hopefully, buying or selling some properties with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Emily has been on A Fresh Story, which I will link to her episode so you can hear all about her divorce, which we're not going to get into today. But just so if you are listening to this and want to hear the tea, you can go find the tea. Okay, Emily. So like, you did this, you lived this life. So what would you say, you're going through a divorce process, you're a single mom. What's your first kind of few steps you're going to take real estate wise?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, first of all, yes, I have been through this, and I went through this process before I became a real estate salesperson. And it was actually part of the reason that I ended up going into real estate, because I was very inspired by my experience. So I think the first thing to do is to think about, what do you want? And it doesn't have to be what you want forever, but what do you want right now? What, not to be corny, but what's your why, right? Do you need to downsize? Do you need more space? Like maybe somehow your custody situation requires a little more space. Do you need to stay in that school district that you're in? Are you trying to be closer to your family? So figuring out sort of what the ultimate motivation is for buying, selling, or renting. And then the second thing, and this is, the not as fun part probably, is assessing your finances. Outside of real estate even, I think it is so important as women to have a firm understanding of what your finances are. What does a monthly budget look like for you and your family, married or divorced, whatever? It's a way to, I think, feel in control of the money that is available to you. And I think ultimately in this situation, you're going to be able to go to a lender, which should be your very next step, and say, here's my financial situation. What is available to me? And this will help you be realistic and create no surprises. Like, the last thing you want is to just right now, tomorrow, go to some open houses and fall in love with something that is completely out of your reach, or settle on something not knowing that you can actually afford a little bit more. And I think the last thing that I said this in the few times that we have talked about this specific topic, is figure out who your team is. And that is your friends and family, friends or family. Maybe you have a chosen family, your therapist, your divorce attorney. If your divorce attorney also does real estate, great. If not, find a real estate attorney, a lender, and your agent. And the lender, the agent, and the real estate attorney are not, you don't pay them anything until you close on a deal. So the great news about that is you've got these people providing support, consulting you, giving you all this wisdom, and you don't need to put down a dollar until the time comes for you to close. So get them now and use them. They're the experts, right? You do not have to guess on any of this stuff. Be dumb and ask them all the questions. So get that team together.
I love that advice, and I think I've actually never heard an expert say it like that, which is that like you can build your team without spending a dollar, which I think is really, really smart. So if somebody's listening to this, Emily, and they are going through the divorce process and they're feeling so intimidated by even just like making a decision, do I stay in the house? Do I sell the house? I don't even know where to start looking at my finances. What would be like the very first baby step that you would take down that path?
I would pick up the phone and call a lender. I said that before, but I mean it. Even before your real estate agent, I'm sure there are people in real estate that think I'm wrong for saying that, but I think it's true because I think what it's going to do is give you confidence and what you're looking for. And so when you do finally speak to an agent, you kind of already know what the ballpark is you're looking for. And I would also say work with an agent. Do not try to do it yourself because there's just too much out there. And you made the point of saying being bamboozled. Maybe that was the word used. I think, yeah, that, for the
Mhm.
most part, you're going to be working with professional people, but there are people out there that maybe try to push you to buy something a little outside of your price range. And at the end of the day, you close and they're gone, right? So you want to make sure that you are uh, staying in that realistic realm. And I think to say it again, ask more questions, ask lots of questions. I've bought and sold several properties of my own, and I still ask questions. I still say, can you please explain to me why this versus that? And I have never had a lender like be annoyed with me. If anything, they're excited that I'm interested. They maybe even open up programs that they didn't think that I might be interested in. So I think having those conversations, and again, this is not that we're so focused on free, but it is free, and divorce is incredibly financially taxing. So to know that you can speak to someone, and if they're not patient enough to speak with you, find somebody else. There's plenty of people out there and they're going to be fighting for your business. So let them work for it.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
And I think the one of the harder pieces of um buying, selling, renting, going through divorce or post divorce, which is what a lot of people do because of their, divorce agreement, is letting your emotions lead, not being able to accept that maybe you need a smaller house right now or that's what you can afford. But instead of thinking of it like a business person, you are your business. Like I am a family and that family is my business. And I'm trying to make a business decision, a business case decision for what's right for this family right now. And I said it before, this is not forever. It does not have to be forever. Think of this as the stepping stone to get to the place that you want to be. And that might mean renting.
Absolutely. I love everything you said so much. Can you, before we let you go, talk for a second about this is something you and I have talked a lot about is the stigma around like small houses or small apartments or, the mom sleeping in the living room while the kids take the bedroom type of situation, which is totally fine, right? For like you said, for the time being. So
Yeah.
if someone's listening and they're like, oh, but like I'm coming from a McMansion with 6 bedrooms. Now I'm not going to have any money. And like, you know, from your experience, because I know you moved, right? What do kids actually need during that time, Emily?
They need you to be okay. They need you to be okay. So if that's something too that you need to work with your therapist on or talk to your friends and get some support and encouragement, I think that's the first step is getting yourself right with that situation. Um, when I divorced and bought my first home, it was small. It was much, much smaller than what they had been used to living in. And they were going back and forth from that house to their mom's new house, which was a big fear of mine, was that I was sort of going to lose somehow because I had the smaller house. But when it was time for us to get a larger property, because I got a new child too, um, they were sad. They were like not ready to leave. They did not want to leave the house. And it was tight. I mean, we didn't even have a dining room. It was very uncomfortable. I think we like, shuffled bedrooms a few times. But at the end of the day, all they have are wonderful memories of living in that house. And, I know that doesn't necessarily put out that fire, that fear for some people, but keep learning about people who have gone through divorce and seeing how those experiences have so much reward too. Like my kids would come and jump in the bed and sleep with me, and I didn't have to worry about my partner not liking that anymore. They could sleep with me every night if I wanted to, or if they wanted to, or if they needed to. And again, this is a positive thing because now you are building equity in your name alone, and no one can take that from you. Now it's yours. So I think there's so much positive that comes out of it, no matter how tiny it is, because it's better than, suffering through a mortgage payment that you can't really afford, feeling like you can't take trips together, feeling like it's too hard to, pay for a dinner out. Keeping yourself within your means is going to give you so much reward on the back end of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know a lot of single mom friends who, they sold that house that they were in. They took the money and they rented an apartment like in a complex. They didn't have to shovel the snow. They didn't have to take
And
care of
yeah,
the landscaping. Right. Their rent was not as expensive, and they went on vacations with their kids. They took them out to dinner,
yeah.
right? Because they had the extra funds. So I love perspectives, and I love to always remind people that there's options. So Emily, if someone's listening to this, where do you work? How do you work if somebody wants to get in touch with you?
Yes. So I'm with Serhant, Serhant. You can just Google my name, Emily Clancy and Serhant, and find me. I'm on Instagram at emilyclancy.re, and you can get all my contact information there. If you want to just poke me, there's a link. You can go send a little form through, and we can start chatting. And you can just call me and ask me any questions. DM me, whatever works for you. I'm happy to provide support and consulting. Unless we buy a house together, it's all free from me.
Yes, and I can attest to that because Emily's been the recipient of many phone calls of mine. Well, and Emily, of course, is over at Fresh Starts if you need anything.
Yeah.
Also, she is one of our trusted and vetted experts. I wouldn't trust anybody more than Emily with my real estate needs. So Emily, if someone's listening to this going through a divorce, which they probably are because divorce happens, what would be some words of encouragement that you could leave them with?
Take care of yourself. Even if you can only, commit 30 minutes every Tuesday, wake up early, take a walk, indulge in some crappy TV in the evenings. Just don't feel guilty at all for taking care of yourself and finding some time.
I love that. Thank you so much, Emily. This was so many important gems on this episode. So I
Good.
can't wait to share it. We appreciate you so much.
Thanks, Olivia. I appreciate you too.
Divorce Happens is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the only divorce registry platform for everything you need to begin again, including home items, hype team, and everything in between. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh. We're here to support you before, during, and after divorce. Head to freshstartsregistry.com for more info.